Hello, everybody, and welcome to another podcast of Parenting Diaries. Today, we have with us a very special friend of mine. Her name is Uma Jairam. She has around 35 plus years of experience in the corporate world, and today she is a vice president in a corporate company managing SAP projects. The reason why I have invited her to this platform because, along with a beautiful corporate career, she has been able to take care of her two lovely sons in a joint family setup. And let's hear the story from her. Today, her eldest son, he's completed engineering from Vellore Institute Technology, as well as his management from Narsi Monji and doing a product manager role. And his second son has completed his BTech from IIT for chemical and also completed his master's in cognitive technology. Today he's working in the AI field. So let's hear from Uma. How did she manage building up such lovely career of her own self as well as children, and also ensuring great value system in her children while balancing out in the joint family? Let's have Uma on the stage. Hi Uma, and welcome to this platform of Parenting Diaries. Let's see how your inputs are going to inspire many parents who are going to watch this forum today.
Hi, Teresa. Nice meeting you. I really hope I'm able to give value to your exercise. I've been appreciating you from behind the scenes, and I'm so fortunate to see you grow so well and fortunate that I'm part of your journey.
Thank you. All right, Uma. So as we start, one of the first questions which I want to ask is that we all know that you have two sons, and we've already given an introduction about that in the prior set. What is that quality or talent in your children that you as a parent are very proud to call about? Or if you could share something.
One of the main things are both my sons are avid readers. They read like it's like they can't go to sleep without reading. That's one of the habits that I wanted personally felt that it was necessary as for growth of any person, and they have taken to it very nicely. Second is they are very nice individuals in terms of being compassionate and very modest. If they see any, like, even to so if I tell him, look, my servant's son, he needs some clothes of yours, why don't you give some clothes of yours, you have come here, why don't you give? He would not give a torn one or an old one or an unused or a that he doesn't like. He will give what he feels that they will be able to use for the next few years, so that they feel nice wearing it. Yes. So that quality I felt was very unique, very modest. When you appreciate them, you say, what is this? This is the least one can do. So they're very modest also, quite good in their academics. They've done well in their academics. They've tried to get themselves educated, as even today they keep doing some courses on it. So these are some of the things that I feel will take them a long way.
Very good. And I truly believe that any child, when they are born, they don't come with all these things naturally. It is through the nurturing which we as parents give. So I'm sure you and your husband would have done some amount of, parenting style which has inculcated such values in them. I would like to ask, is there any particular habit or ritual or anything which you made it as a practice for them from their child?
One thing that I made them do every day was participate in the household activities. But it was twofold. One was because we were working parents, we definitely needed that extended, help at home, but what I told them was, look, going forward, we don't know where you are going to be, and hence, to know all those basic things that you need for living alone, you should know. You should know to wash your clothes. You should know to wash your vessels. You should know to keep the house clean. You should know to do some bit of cooking, cutting vegetables, participating, showing them how we did this, and making them do some of the activities while I was doing the cooking, etc. These were some of the things that we inculcated in them. My mother-in-law had a habit of there was a point system. There were 4 children in our family. We were a joint family. So there were 4 columns, and each one was given a task in rotation. For whoever who did it well, they got some points for finishing it. And at the end of the week, then we went out shopping. She would buy some goodies for them for getting those points. And so there was a lot of competition in getting the maximum points and things like that. Though there was no differentiation, the only motive behind that whole thing was they get to learn, they get to participate, they get to understand that house is bringing up the home is not one person's responsibility, keeping them engaged, not watching TV. So these were some of the serendipities, I would say, of these activities.
Wonderful. That's a very wonderful concept. And I think this rewarding mechanism is something which truly works in all generations, in the previous and even today's Gen Z generation. Rather than scolding and pushing them, if you motivate them by reward system, it really helps. And I really like that concept because that was a great way of making them away from the digital world also. Because when they're engaging with all these physical activities, they will go very less to those televisions. In those days, those were digital. Today, we have other digital evils also. Yeah, that's great. Amazing.
Just a point, Teresa, I would like to add to this. Today's parents, they want to keep the children away. They're busy in the kitchen. They want to keep the children away. So make them watch TV. That's not the way. Engage them in whatever you're doing. Let them be part of it. Even as a child, I can send you a video also. My grandchild, I used to make her those modaks, which is so difficult. But then, when she's only 7 years old, but I made them do it. They roll the chapatis. I mean, it doesn't come so well. But then it keeps them engaged. It keeps them away from the TV. So, I mean, it will be of help to you also. They will also feel nice. That's the time that you can bond with them also. And, at the end of the day, that togetherness that happens. If they are there watching TV and just scolding them not to watch TV doesn't work.
And it's a good way of giving a sense of achievement also to the children the right young age. Small tasks when they complete, they feel very, very confident. Fantastic. Also, as you talk about all this and you are in a joint family, very interesting. Very rarely we find nowadays joint families moving into nuclear system. Can you describe any parenting philosophy or approach which you and your husband had done while bringing up your 2 children?
The fundamental philosophy that all of us were told, that we wanted to follow was don't compare at all. 4 children, each of them grew to their own potential. One person is an architect, one person is a home science graduate, one person is a management graduate, the other person is a completely high-end techie. And one person was always doing very well in school, always the first and second. One of them is a football player, one of them is a chess player. Okay, so we only help them grow to their potential, never compare. See, he's studying well. 2 children never did well in school, and doesn't mean that they were not first or second. They were confident. So we want building confidence in children, bringing themselves up to their own potential, realizing their own capabilities and admiring them for their capabilities rather than comparing them with anybody within the family or outside the family. We never compared anyone.
Yeah, that's very amazing. And that reminds me of one of the very critical parenting topic which I also cover in my session is there's something called as multiple intelligences. Now it is coming up to the trend. Howard Gardner was one of the scientists, a behavioral scientist, who picked up that every child doesn't have to be good in academics to be successful in life. There are 8 multiple intelligences, and if any of those intelligence can be converted into success, they can use that. So if it is out from academics, there's something like if there are children who are good in language, they can be great orators. Some are good in sports, some are good in music, some are good in visual spatial, graphic. So identifying that potential of your child and making it grow without demotivating them if their academics goes low is a key strength, and you've done it wonderful. Even though you've not attended any sessions, but it's great, Uma, that you already have inculcated in your parenting. All right. Any funny incident about your children which you would like to share to make the moment lighter?
Of course, we will have a lot of funny incidents, but then something that really, even today, all of us sit down and laugh at it. is my son wanting to attend the wedding of one of his distant cousins. He traveled all the way from Coimbatore to, he had to travel all the way from Coimbatore to Thrissur. He got off the Thrissur, he was reading a book, and he was in his own world. He picked up the book, got off, somebody said Thrissur has come, he got off the station without his bag. He's so absent-minded. He left his bag in the train left off. By the time he realized it, because it was a very well-known person's wedding, they could call up, they went up to the station master, called up the next station, got off the, got his baggage out and kept it in the station master's cabin at the next station. These people traveled all the way to the next station, came back, and for that 2 hours, all of us were wondering what's happening, what happened. You always call him the absent-minded professor, and that is like, he's absent-minded about a lot of things. So it used to impact some of his academic performances as well because of this. But then as he grew, he learned how to deal with it, because one of the things that I kept telling him, look, fine, it's okay, your mind is going wild and switching off from the present to somewhere else, but in meetings the best thing that you can do is write down all that you want to do, what you want to speak, and make sure that you don't miss any points because of this habit. So it's better that you have the habit of writing down. And the second point that there are multiple funny incidents. That's okay. I think we'll stop at one.
All right. So, I think that's great, because the way you handle that situation, like normally if a parent would narrate the story, they'll be like, oh my God, this is silly thing my son used to do and he did such a thing and so much of trouble he caused. But so lightly and so effortlessly you mentioned this, Uma. That shows that as a parent, you're that cool mom who knows it's okay. Ye khatam nahi hua zindagi se. And then you know how to take it up further by supporting him and by giving him the right tools and mechanism by which he can avoid such things in future or take care of him better. And this is exactly what is required in parenting also, because each child is not perfect. Okay, some will be absent-minded, some will be making mistakes, some people keep on clumsily falling here and there, but each child is unique. So as a parent, instead of looking at all those negative, try to find how you can help and support them, because there will be something beautiful they have which no other child has. So definitely a great story to hear and funny thing to know about your child. I just ask you, if there any chance you get to course correct yourself and do the reparenting again for your children, what is it that you would like to do differently or better?
Couple of things is, we need to become children ourselves first, to get into their shoes, to understand their needs. We should not always be in a parenting mode. That's a different style of parenting, is taking them along your side whilst teaching them to be disciplined, teaching them to be careful, be able to do the right things at the right time and all these things. Yes, it's all very important, but it can be done a bit differently, and there is no one way for all. Okay, like you always have, and as I told you, there are 4 children in the family, and each of them had to be dealt with differently. And at that age, your children felt that you were being partial. You're not telling him something, you're telling only me, kind of things. And it would be very difficult for us to justify at that point in time that child can take up only so much, or that differentiation that you do should be meaningful. We should never be differentiating, though we never did any differentiation. But then you always, my sons always had a complaint that I spent more time with my niece. But least realizing she's talkative, she comes, sticks to me, and she pulls off all the time. My sons are not so talkative, so they would shy away from coming and discussing everything from me. Maybe I could have handled it a bit differently. I didn't try and think that even boys would need that emotional time, devotion to them. When they are playing, we think that they don't need us. It's not true. They need us. All the time they need us. In all facets of their life, they need us. And being there not providing is not the only responsibility of the parent. We think we are going to work, we are providing them with money, we are providing them with a lot of lifestyle and things like that, providing them with emotional stability, emotional balance, and that those little things being part of their not only their achievements, their downfalls also, when they are not so well and they are not able to come and tell us that something bad happened in school and that's why I'm sulking. We just brush them out. We don't see them. We don't ask. These things, if I had, applied myself a little more, though I was cognizant of it, but I wasn't aware as to how I should do it. I was so engrossed in so many other things, taking care of a lot of things, which perhaps I got a good medal of being a good daughter-in-law, of being a good wife and all those things. But then I could have done better in bringing more confidence in my children, in being a public speaking and so on and so forth.
And I'm great that you have a way to look back and getting some learnings from that. I'm sure you'll share it with your sons and your daughter-in-laws so that when they do their parenting, they'll not, they'll do it a little differently. But today, fortunately, the parents of today's generation are very fortunate because there are so many trainings and courses happening and they can attend these parenting workshops to develop themselves. But you said a very valid point there that many of the parents, they mistake this aspect that, only girls require too much of emotional support. And when they see boys, they don't show that emotional connection, but they're busy by the corner of the eye. They're expecting their mom to come and give them a hug, or probably they might push and say, "Oh, mama, don't hug me." But actually, they need that. So, mothers and fathers, I think they have to be cognizant of the fact, because when I see that, when daughters are there, they snatch out, they know how to take the time from you. They know how to cuddle around you. But the boys, they want, but they don't know because of their nature and the way God has built them. They don't have that emotional thing sometimes to come and show and express. But we parents, if they recognize that need of theirs and fulfill at the right time, we can have a stronger and great bond and connection with them, which will help in the long run when they grow up and they need us. Very beautifully shared. Is there anything like when you're managing the discipline and boundaries when they were teenagers? I'm sure boys do have some small naughtiness. Did you have any particular strategies or techniques which you did to help them to build their discipline and boundaries? Or were they very good boys?
See, yes, many times it does happen that they move out of boundaries and don't do the things the way they need to do. I would not scold them. I would sit down with them and tell them, look, this time you haven't done well in your academics, but then you can make it up the next time. Mostly it was all academics, like then identifying whether I can do something about it. Like my boundaries, I wouldn't know that they have crossed any boundaries. They haven't.
Did you ever get a complaint from the society or the school, like he's hit a boy or they had a fight or something like that?
Oh, my elder son used to sleep in the class, and that was a complaint that came to me.
Okay.
And when I asked my son, he said, I'm feeling very sleepy, Mama. It is so early in the morning, you're asking me to go to school. Kind of. So it was something that we could. So the only thing that we did was maybe go to sleep a bit early, at least put them to sleep and then continue with whatever finishing work that you had to do. But otherwise, there were no complaints from children, even when I used to go for the PTA. One thing I always did was went for the PTA. I never missed any PTA in that entire schooling. I was there meeting the teachers and everything. They were disciplined children for whatever reason. Maybe because whatever. They didn't break any discipline that way.
Not that of a tough life they gave you. Because I can see some boys, parents, they come and say so many things. I just wanted to check. All right.
Childhood pranks that were there, we always, that's the age. So did not make a big deal about all this. Yeah.
All right. How did you emphasize academics more, extracurricular activities or personal development? How did you balance these priorities for them, or how did it go?
Academics, fortunate that they were pretty disciplined and were up to it. Some of the extracurricular activities that we put them in was some of the religious classes that they learned the scriptures. Then they went to play regularly, though we didn't put them into any of a cricket academy or a football academy. Yeah, one of the children went to the football academy, did football. So his teacher said only one thing, Arvind, you can play football if you come first in the class. He took that up very seriously and I said, okay, fine. So that he got allowance to play football was good enough for them. I think naturally quite brilliant, did not have make any efforts to stand first in the class. That wasn't a big thing. Writing, one of my sons was good in writing, so he used to be the part of their library and choosing books for the library and so on and so forth. So do a lot of writing. Those were some of the extracurricular activities that they had. Not so much into sports. Very little. Like one son played chess very well. And one of the sons was not very good at public speaking. I put them into some public speaking class. But not so much of a, I would say, I had to stretch myself to balance everything.
Okay, so you just went the natural way wherever they are interested, you into that thing and did not put too much of stress like it's maybe first, because some parents they are like they should be first in everything. They should know one instrument, they should be playing one sport, they should be highest in class, go to Olympiad exam. So not too much of that hush and rush.
They put so much of pressure. My mother-in-law felt she's a great singer. She felt if there was a talent, you can't stop it. It will come out. You give them avenues, see where they grow, and then look. And then pick that up and start growing it. Making a compulsory involvement in all the things that you like and you want your child. And it was never driven by my desires as much as their potential.
Okay. That's the right approach. Yeah. And Uma, one last question before we wind up. What is the advice you would like to give to all the millennial parents today? Because they are handling one of the tough Gen Z and Alpha Gen.
Yeah. Don't ever say that when I was a child, when I was a youngster, when I was that, when I was this. That doesn't work. Days are very different, right? Within that, building the value system, growing them up in a value system, growing them up to meet the challenges of the current generation. It's become very competitive. So what they'll need to learn is how to live within the competition. You can't deny the competition. You only have to know how to manage competition and build the inner strength in them is what I would say is most important for them, rather than getting them stand first in the class or getting them to do public performances. Like even before they start the music class, they want to see when they're going to go up the stage. Building the resilience within the children for growth is what is most important, which is what the current generation they are not able to face. That puts a lot of pressure on the child and all the other things that come with it to manage the stress. The child will not even tell you that they are doing it. And when you really realize it later, it will be a real setback. So growing them you teach them to work hard and give them a pat on the back when they fail more than when they pass. Give them the distinct award for trying out, so they feel confident to try it again next time.
Very good.
Not be bothered about something that the neighbor did.
Yeah. Comparison should not happen. And you nailed it well when you said that first sentence, which many of the parents do it apparently, is when I was a child, my dad did this, my mom did this. This is how we were brought up, or this is how we were doing. We cannot afford to say that in today's generation. It will not work. The first time you use a sentence, they have shut down their ears. Yes, then I will listen to your further story. So definitely this is a complete no to all the parents. Great advice. And yeah, as you said rightly, even if generation to generation the children will change, the parenting style will change, but there are certain core things, that is a value system which we give, it has to stay strong. The value system which we give to our children, that's going to help them to navigate through all the hurdles of their life. So if that foundation is right, then baki sab chalta hai, which they will be able to handle. Yeah. So I'm very aptly put, and thank you so much, Uma, for your valuable insights and sharing your experiences so transparently. I'm sure many parents listening to this interview would gain a lot of insights and it will help them navigate their experiences and of parenting them. All right.
Thank you, Teja, for giving this opportunity. I hope it impacts at least one person in this world.
Yep. All right. See you then. Thank you so much. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Goodbye.